you like to eat booty? It's a fake ass burger. That's how that was done. Special effects, guys. Go to college, get a degree like I did. Hey, how's it going, YouTube? My name is NACHO. This is one of the craziest videos I've ever thought of taking on. How will Resident Evil 7 end? Now, how the fuck am I gonna try to figure out how this game will end if it's so mysterious so far? The storyline has been kept under wraps by Capcom. I mean, we have to go on little clues and little facts that I've gathered. Resident Evil 7 is the beginning of a new era, because if you think about it, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 were the more classic games, I want to say. You know, you had the tank controls, the weird camera angles, blah, blah, blah. Then 4, 5, and 6 brought in the new era of third person. And then, of course, we have Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9. That is, if we're going to have that many Resident Evils, I hope so. And Resident Evil 7 is the first person Resident Evil game, I think, ever. There was those spin-offs, the Chronicles that were whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the main series right now. So in other words, Resident Evil 7 is basically the baby of this new trilogy we're experiencing. And with most babies of the trilogy, those endings are basically cliffhangers, or they are abruptly ended. So Resident Evil 7 will probably come to a close with something spectacular happening. Let's look at the basics. You are looking for your wife in this crazy mansion filled with crazy people. And that's basically it. That's the simplest explanation of the Resident Evil 7 storyline. But what happens within you going into that house and looking for whatever remains of your wife? Hey, I don't have the fucking answers here. Okay, I don't have any answers. There's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to Resident Evil 7. You're not going to be looking at a straightforward story. You know, you're not only going to be looking for your wife. There's obviously ties into the whole Umbrella Corp storyline. You can't make a Resident Evil game without including Umbrella at some point. So there's some shady corporation involved in Resident Evil 7. I have no doubts in that. But like I said before, Resident Evil 7 is the beginning of a new trilogy. Thus, we're probably going to be seeing Umbrella at the very end. That's my guess. Possible ending number 1. Now, this is a really stupid theory that I've come up with, and it's a really it's a fan theory. Like, it's not going to happen, probably. It's probably not going to happen. So in my past videos, I've theorized that somehow eventually within Resident Evil 7, you will eventually get infected with the Baker disease. We don't know what it is, what virus this is, but eventually you will get whatever they have, because the Bakers tend to feed some really weird stuff to whoever goes into their house, you know, anyone. And psychologically, they seem to think that they are more superior. You see this in Jack Baker. You know, he says, "Welcome to the family," to whoever is in their house, whoever breaks into their house, because it's supposed to be some sort of awesome thing to be in the Baker family. And this is obvious because they've completely closed off from the outside world. They have. And it's pretty obvious that they want you to become part of their family, as if it's some sort of amazing thing to be a part of. Obviously it's not. We've seen this sort of superiority complex in other Resident Evil villains. I mean, Osmond Sadler from Resident Evil 4 had an entire cult, and he was always walking around like nothing's ever gonna happen to him. He was always messing with Leon. At the end of the day, the dude gets fucked. I'm starting to see these Osmond Sadler qualities in Jack Baker. That's what I'm seeing, because Jack Baker seems to glorify the meaning of family for whatever reason. Now, here's my theory. This is gonna be really stupid. People are gonna get really probably enraged in the comments, but whatever. It's a dumb theory. I'm gonna just say that right now. Like I've said before, Resident Evil 7 is the baby of this trilogy. So it needs to have that cliffhanger. It needs to have that exclamation point at the end of the game in order to make people interested into coming back for Resident Evil 8, in order to make the story ending surprising. This is what I'm saying. So Ethan is a normal guy, right? As Capcom has said before. So what I'm saying is, in his story arc, he goes from being a normal guy to becoming the monster of the game. After hours and hours of venturing through, you know, the Baker house and completing the puzzles or whatever, you eventually find your wife, which is what you've been set out to do. Now, your wife has some obvious importance to the Bakers. That's why she's there. And she probably may have some ties to umbrella in some way. So I believe that Mia is actually an important character to this trilogy. And so I believe that at the end of this game, you will try to attempt to kill Mia in some fashion. And just before you do it, someone we all know comes to save the day. Chris Redfield. Boom. That's a huge cliffhanger. The game just ends there with you getting killed by one of the original characters. Dude, now I get it. It's a stupid theory. I know. It probably has no real, fraction to it. So possible ending number 1. You become the monster of the game, and someone we all know and love comes in to save the day. That's fuck. Now that's an example of an over the top cliffhanger that probably won't happen, because I'm thinking about, how this story would end if we, something we would already know happened. Like, what if Ethan just actually went to the mansion and just saved Mia, and that's the end of the story? That would be so boring. And so this ending is basically the opposite of that. A lot of holy shit, what the fuck happened stuff going on here. So yeah, that's my take on the ending. I wanted to include, I know I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for this, but I wanted to include something that was really, that'll keep Resident Evil fans' minds, that makes sense, flowing. Like, what if this actually happened? What if this actually happened? That would be fuck. That would be like, boom. So what do you guys think? How will this game end? And think about really the fact that Resident Evil 7 is the first game of the trilogy. So think about something surprising. I really want to discuss this with you guys. I want to know where you guys think this game will continue in terms of Resident Evil 8, or how the plot of the trilogy will eventually pan out. Some really interesting stuff I know you guys have to say. Be sure to comment down below. I make Resident Evil videos from Monday through Thursday, so be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Join the nachos today. Why the hell not? Thanks so much, guys. And as always, stay single.